We're going to chant the Gayatri mantra to begin. We are honoring the earth, the sun, and the heavens in this particular mantra. We are also saying, wow, the cosmos is amazingly beautiful and intelligent. May we remember this. May we also see ourselves as a part of this cosmos, that it is us and we are it. We are infused in it. Let's begin. Om Bhava Suvah Vatsaveto Varenyam Argo Devasyari Mohi Yo Yona Prachodayata Om Bhava Suvah Vatsaveto Varenyam Argo Devasyari Mohi Yo Yona Prachodayata Om Bhava Suvah Tatsavetor Varenyam Bargo Devasyadi Mahi Yo Yona Prachodayata Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha Hari Om. With an exhale, you may bow your head to your heart and release your hands. And please open your eyes. So in the model of the koshas, which I haven't spoken as much about in the last week or so, in the model of the koshas, we have this outer layer, this outer expression, which is the physical body, also called the Annamaya kosha. That's this dense body here that is comprised of food and also is food. And if you've had a mosquito bite, you know that about yourself. You were a little bit of food there. So this Annamaya kosha is considered the outermost layer of who we are in the physical form. And then inward to that is Pranamaya kosha, the energy body, the vitality body. And inner to that is your sensory and mental body. So the senses and the way the mind interprets the senses, and then these things called mental impressions, which live in the Manomaya kosha. And then deeper than that is called the Gnanamaya kosha, this inner wisdom. It's deeper than your mind habits, deeper than the mind patterns. And it precedes your senses. And most deep from there is called Anandamaya kosha, the essence of who we are, the essence of life, actually. Consciousness expressing itself in all these myriad forms. So Ananda means this indwelling bliss or joy. And yesterday I was with my teachers community there in Mysore, though they were on Zoom, of course. And one of the senior teachers was talking about how in India they have these marketplaces, and at the marketplaces, some people are selling flowers. And the flowers themselves are extraordinary. They have this beauty that doesn't need us to enhance it, and we can't really diminish it. It's on its own expressing itself. And that's the quality of Anandamaya kosha. It's on its own expressing itself. Its beauty cannot be enhanced by us, and nor can we diminish it. But then he was saying that in the marketplace, the flower vendors have to sort of decorate their stall to make it more appealing, and they have to say certain things to the passersby to capture the sales, to capture the consumer to purchase the flowers from them, rather than from their neighbor at the other stall. It's all the flowers, the expression. And yet in India, when the one merchant is next to the other merchant, they might say to the passersby, if you're captivated by their flowers, you'll say, hey, no, same over here, but different. And what that means is same, but different, better. My flowers are better than those flowers. So same, but different. A lady, come over here. Same. Like if you look really interested in those flowers, this merchant wants you to know that the same, these most amazing flowers are also over here, but different. Something better is happening over here. So this is the nature of the human species and the mental habits, the manomaya kosha. And if we get too bedazzled by those mental habits, we are separated from the jnanamaya kosha. We don't sense it. We aren't in touch with our inner wisdom. And we also can lose touch with this anandamaya kosha. We are capable of losing touch. And that is called avidya, the first cause of suffering, when we lose touch. So in each of the layers of the chakras, if you were to imagine these koshas are like concentric circles. So you have at the Muladhara, the koshas, at the Svadhisthana, the koshas, at the Manipura and the koshas, Anahata and all the koshas. So each of the chakras has this most indwelling ananda and this indwelling wisdom. And what we know is the wisdom of each of the chakras, when we can live that wisdom, we are made whole again. We don't feel separated. We have not gotten into forgetfulness. So that's a little dialogue for this morning. There was much more said by my senior teacher yesterday. That piece I can share with you about the flower market. They were not discussing the koshas or the chakras. Actually, they were discussing the 4 paths to God and how to know when you're in the marketplace, which is the path that is yours to pursue. That's a different discussion for another time. So to have a sense of this indwelling vijnanamaya kosha, this indwelling wisdom in each of the chakras, we're going to practice some pranayama and some work with the hips, the pelvis, and the torso, as with yesterday. So please bring yourself for now into Baddha Konasana. Put the soles of the feet together. Sit up high on your blanket. If you feel unstable with the knees being unsupported, put your blocks under your knees. Otherwise, then reach down to hold your ankles and raise the ankles up. As you inhale, lift up and come into a cow pose spine. And then exhale and start lowering your heels down and let that bring your hands down. Let that bring your torso to an upright position. And then exhale, slide the shoulders back, elbows back, and come forward. We're going to inhale to go up, press the toes down, lift your heels, lean back. And exhale, lower the heels and come forward. Inhale, raise up, point the toes down. And exhale to come forward. Even the pubic bone descends. The outer heels come down. Bring your chest and heart forward. And inhale, rise up again. And exhale to come forward. You might be noticing some stiffness in your hips or your pelvis, other places in the body too. But perhaps you're also noticing that movement and breath together can help to bring a kind of suppleness to the body. Let's go up one more time, please. As you inhale, raise your heels, raise your heart, open your throat. And exhale, slide your chest and heart forward, elbows and shoulders back. And then rise up just to your Baddha Konasana and slide the feet out a few inches. When you slide the feet out like that, sit up high on your hips on your blanket. And then take the left hand across to the right foot, right hand to your right knee, and please twist your lower belly to your right. And during the inhale, listen inwardly for the naturalness of the breath to come. You can add to that naturalness the ujjayi breath. So you're not trying to take over or dominate the body with the breath, but rather partner with. On the exhale, try to sense a little swishing of the inner belly to your right. And then rise up to center. And let's bring the right hand across to the outside of the left foot, the top of the foot there. Left hand to your left knee. There's a little lean forward, and then please twist to your left. As you breathe in, partner with the naturalness of the breath, adding only as much of the ujjayi sound as you need to help your mind be focused and elegant. And with the exhale, sense the swishing of the belly to your left. Bring yourself back to center, rise up to your seat. And please cross the left ankle inside the right and come to Sukhasana. Rest your hands out over your knees. Okay, with the hands firmly over the knees, inhale to pull up. And exhale, glide forward. Inhale, roll up and look up. And exhale, glide forward. A little bit like a cat-cow spine. This is more like the cat spine. And you're going to inhale, roll up a little bit more like the cow spine. And exhale, roll forward. One more time, inhale to roll up. One more time, exhale to roll forward. Please rise up to sit and switch the ankles. So depending on which ankle was on the outside, you felt that in your hips in one way or another. Take the hands out over the knees again and inhale, roll up. All of the chakras, first to the seventh. And exhale, glide forward. Inhale, roll up. And exhale, glide forward and down. Okay, twice more. Using just the amount of the ujjayi breath that you actually need for your mind to stay focused. One more time, inhale to roll up. And exhale to glide forward. And then rise up to your seat, please. Come into your Siddhasana and listen for how things are feeling inside. We're going to come up to standing in just a moment. So what I'd like to do this morning, it's Sunday, and I sometimes call this the Church of Yoga because it's Sunday. And what I'd like to be able to do is to give you a kind of metta truth at each of the chakras 1 through 4. And so you'll hear me referencing that. Please don't misinterpret. It's not meant to be dogmatic. I'm going to ask if your body knows something to be true about the metta truths that I'll be sharing. So let's come up to standing. Take a wide stance like Prasarita. If you don't need your blanket, the one you were sitting on, you can of course put that aside. So please come into feet parallel in Prasarita, and let's walk the hands forward on top of 2 blocks. You can put the blocks on the medium setting. And when you inhale, think of the cow pose spine. Lift your sitting bones, slide the tailbone back, Bring your chest and heart forward. And when you exhale, start from the tailbone to curl the spine a little bit like a cat pose spine. Gaze back between your heels towards the wall or the garden behind you. And then inhale, raise your sitting bones, and one vertebrae at a time, glide into a cow pose spine. Picture the 7 chakras as if they were beads on a mala, moving with the breath. And when you inhale and you take the sitting bones back and up, the pubic bone follows the tailbone. Bring your heart forward, open your throat. And as you exhale towards the cat pose spine, begin from the tailbone. Move to the pubic bone, up the front line of the spine, and gaze back through your legs. Let's do that twice more, please. And then come into a neutral spine, neither the cat nor the cow pose. Walk your hands back to the floor. Walk your hands up to your hips. And please rise up to standing. Turn your heels in and your toes out and come into the jazz dance warm-up pose. This has been a feature pose for us in the summer immersion because I'm very fond of what it does to give us awareness of the pelvis. So as you're pressing out with the inner thighs, point your fingers out and line up your fingers, knees, and toes. Gaze down on the floor somewhere in front of you so your head is in line with your spine. We're going to use the Bastrika breath now. So keeping the pelvic floor toned, but not hardened, not rigid. We'll exhale firmly, robustly out through the mouth. Exhale. Inhale to suspension while you stay right here. During the suspension, press your arms down, hands against your knees, sweep the low belly and the pelvic floor in and up, tone the throat, the chin going down and in. And then release the breath very slowly out through the nose. Make it a longer, slower, steady breath cycle. Press down into your heels. Inhale, rise up to stand. Just let the tailbone come down. Pubic bone up slightly. You're going to feel the front of the inner groin right here. Breathe in. And then exhale down to the jazz dance pose. Bastrika again. Exhale. Inhale to suspension. Exhale very slowly out through the nose. Inhale, rise up to standing. Relax your arms. Take the tailbone forward towards the pubic bone. Try to keep the knees in line with the toes. Notice when you stand like this that the back hemisphere of the pelvic floor is more toned right now. Just a fact, I'm telling it to you. It's not a problem. Coming back down, jazz dance pose. Notice here the pelvic floor is not as toned. And I recommend that you tone the front hemisphere of the pelvic floor, which is more open in this position as well. We're going to be doing Kapalabhati, and we don't want it to feel like you're having a little bounce every exhale. And so keeping the arms steady and the legs supportive, so don't hang down lower than your knees with your hips. Kapalabhati. Exhale completely. Inhale to suspension. Exhale very slowly. Inhale, rise up to standing. Again, the tailbone can come a little bit forward. Keep the knees turned out. The first chakra is about stability, inherent stability. Also sense it right now, it's physical stability. But really an inherent sense of stability when we know that there is a warm welcome for us to be here. We already belong in life. We already belong here in the body, in the community, in the practice. One more time for the Kapalabhati, please come down. On the front hemisphere of the pelvic floor, between the pubic bone and the perineum. Exhale. Inhale to suspension. Exhale very slowly. Inhale, rise up to standing. Notice where you find your stability. Don't squeeze the butt firmly. You already have enough position where the back hemisphere of the pelvic floor is toned. You find the front hemisphere of the pelvic floor. Keeping the tailbone rooted down, let the hips come just slightly forward. You don't have to squeeze the butt or the lower back to do that. and tone at the outer hips. And bring the toes in, parallel, and come down to Prasarita Padottanasana. Walk your hands out over your blocks. Now notice just the smoothness of the breath. So come into your Ujjayi breath, and I'm going to ask you to balance your inhale and your exhale. So you're going to be lightly counting that, not with a perfectionistic attitude, please. And as you provide balance and stability from the breath and the body together, one of the meta truths of the first chakra is that we will feel more stable in our own life if we have a sense of the concentric circles of our responsibility to the whole. We will actually feel more stabilized by that in our own lives, these concentric circles of responsibility to the whole. Starting with ourselves to be responsible, and in our home, those most near relationships, in our neighborhood, those relationships, in our city or our village, those relationships, and so on. So just see how that kind of meta truth lands with you right now, how you might sense that that's something that you already know. So you're hearing the words, but it's reminding you of what you already know. Now please walk your hands onto the floor wherever you happen to be. Walk your feet towards each other and walk out to downward facing dog pose. And in your downward dog pose, reach your hips high and try to balance the lift of the pubic bone and the tailbone. So you're neither working extra hard with the pubic bone nor with the tailbone. If you happen to have very flexible hamstrings, you may need a little bit of attention for the tailbone, not to go up like a hot air balloon. If you have more limited hamstrings, you may need to bend the knees slightly and give a little more attention to the pubic bone. Now try noticing the breath coming in to the pelvic floor and then into the lower belly. So right in there where the sacrum is, the sacral chakra center. Once again, you can balance the inhale with the exhale. Let's do that for 3 more breath cycles in silence together. And then please roll your knees down to the floor or to the deck and come into Vajrasana, resting one hand on the lap of the other. Drop your attention down to the pelvic floor. We will feel more stable individually when we sense these concentric responsibilities, caring for those nearest to, next nearest to, next nearest to, and even a sense of the largest concentric circle when we care through our actions for the welfare of everyone and everything. It is also then true that if we're caring for a circle way beyond and not the closest circles to us, we will feel unstable. We will not feel as connected. Please bring a blanket onto the mat. It's going to be for your knees because we're going to play with Anjane Asana. So if you'll pad the knees appropriately, if you have knee replacements, try putting the shins on the blanket and then the kneecaps will be just forward of the, excuse me, the edge of the blanket. That's not a consideration for you. You can place your knees wherever they're comfortable on the blanket. Bring your blocks into view and step your right foot forward, please. Keep the left knee back on the blanket. Okay, as you come forward, press your fingertips onto the blocks and encourage the tailbone to come forward towards the pubic bone. Curl the left toes under behind you, and as you exhale, reach back with the left leg and both hips. And as you inhale, glide forward with your hips and lower the left knee down as you raise your heart up. And exhale to glide back. You can even gaze back towards your left foot. Inhale, glide forward. Left knee coming down slowly. Raise your chest and your heart. And exhale to glide back. Again, moving through at the pace of your breath cycle. The second chakra is the water element. So move with the fluidity that you would want from water. When you're exhaling to glide back, strengthen the left leg and the right. Press into your right footprint. As you're inhaling to glide forward, at a pace the movement of your body and your breath to arrive. Top of the inhale. One more time, please come forward. And now on this one, keep your left fingertips on the block and without any discomfort to your left knee, so monitor for that. Bend the left knee and reach back to hold with your right hand onto your left foot. Roll the right shoulder back. Hug your right knee into center. Good morning to your quadriceps and your hip flexors. Breathe in. Lower the left toes or the shin back down. Press into your right heel. And let's use both hands firmly on the block. Step backwards to plank pose. Now notice in plank pose what's happening from your right hip down your right leg to your right heel. And then rise up for a moment to downward dog pose and step your left foot forward. Bring your right knee down to the blankets. So you have the kneecap placed where you'd like it to be on the blankets. Come to your fingertips, inhale to glide forward. And exhale to glide back. Move at the pace of your body breathing. Notice your attitude towards any limitations or sensations that are outside your preferred preference. So that's one of the things about the second chakra is our senses really turn on here and we become aware of the world. It is the second chakra that's sort of predisposing us to certain cravings and aversions. And those things can become very unmitigating up at the third chakra. So here we have a duty to sense our senses. So when you inhale to glide forward towards Anjane Asana, you can just check and see how do you respond to the variations of sensation in your breath or your body. What is the quality of your mind when you reach back and you notice your outer hip or hamstrings? towards any of the perceived dilemmas in your body, perceived limitations, for example. How are you responding right now? We're going to go once more backwards. Exhale, make the left foot strong. And then inhale and glide forward. Touch your right knee down. Keep your right fingertips on the block. Make sure that your right kneecap is comfortable. And reach back as you bend the knee. You can hold the top of your foot. Angle the tailbone down and forward. If possible, give a little squeeze to the right butt muscles. Notice what you're doing with the breath and the body. You're keeping the left knee in line with the toes of your left foot. And then release your right toes down. Once again, make the hands firm on the two blocks. Step backwards to pose. And notice what is happening from your left hip to your left heel. Breathe smoothly, with equanimity, with evenness. Tuck the knees down. Make the knees wider than your shoulders and wider than your hips, and reach back to a variation on child's pose where the knees are, let's say, as wide as the width of a yoga mat, not the length, but the width of a mat. Place your hands in front of you and press firmly down with your hands so it's easier to draw the hips back towards your heels. And then walk your hands back towards your knees and take the same blanket, please. Make it a little bit wider. So now the width is going to be, really it's based on the length of your thigh bones and how flexible they are. And I happen to know for myself that I don't need a blanket much wider than this. I don't have long thigh bones. Even if you laid them like this, they wouldn't go past the edge of the blanket. But for some of you, you're going to need your blanket to be wider than what I have here. Okay, let's put the big toes together. Take the knees apart. Come down again where your hands can press so your hips are back towards your heels. And this time make the knees a little bit wider. This is called the tadpole pose because we're going to go to the frog pose. As you're pressing back and the hips are reaching towards your heels, notice the quality of the breath in the first and second chakra. Remind yourself to reflect on how your mind is receiving the sensations of the body. Also how you're responding to any limitations in the physical body. The limitations of the physical body do not compromise the indwelling wisdom or love. A limitation in the physical body may be a structural limitation and cannot define the reach of your mind or your heart or your wisdoms. And please walk your hands back towards your knees. Place them in front like this. Take the knees out a little bit wider. Take the tailbone back. And then come down to your forearms and bring your hips just forward in line with your knees. Take the feet away from the center line and point the toes out to the sides of your room or the sides of the garden. So my hope is that your hips are lined up with your knees, left to right. They aren't forward of your knees, and that your elbows are just beneath your shoulders. Now very thoughtfully, raise the tailbone and the sitting bones up. Your back is going to arch. Bring your chest and heart forward. And then very thoughtfully press into your elbows, draw the spine towards a cat pose spine, take the tailbone towards the pubic bone. You will not have as much range of motion as you would if you were in table pose. And so move with sensitivity, particularly for the inner thighs, the pelvis, the pressure on your knees. Really exploring down at the first and the second chakra. And bring the spine to neutral, neither cat nor cow pose. Bring the big toes in to touch each other. And as you press back with your hips now, firmly root your hands. You may raise the elbows off the floor if needed to reach your hips back to your heels. Now the knees are farther than they were before, and the legs are now in external rotation. Whereas in frog pose, we were going between some internal and external rotation. Walk your hands back to a place beneath the shoulders and press down to raise the chest and heart up. And then root the tailbone, a little bit like cat pose, and you're going to slide the knees, left knee, right knee into center. Please return to Vajrasana. You can rest your hands in your lap. So at the second chakra, we have this watery, sometimes murky thing about craving and aversion, desire, resistance, the senses, wanting what we want, not wanting what we don't want, seeking pleasure, avoiding pain. So a meta truth here is that when we're able to give our whole selves to the deepest desire, the superficial or fleeting desires are easier to manage. They're less consequential. When we're able to give our whole self to the deepest desire, the noise of this sort of superficial or fleeting cravings and aversions, those are easier to manage. While we have a blanket here, please reach for your 2 blocks and rise up to your high knees. Scooch to the left side of your blanket and step your right foot out to the right. Now, if you want the right foot to be on the yoga mat, position yourself where that's going to work. And a reminder that not all people are going to be able to have the right foot go flat to the floor like mine just did there. And if you are someone for whom that doesn't happen, a couple ideas: you could put a block under the toes. You could roll up an extra yoga mat, put that under the toes. You could take an extra blanket and put it under the toes there. Take 1 block to the right. Keep the arms wide, please. Keep the left knee grounded and the left hip vertical. Slide down towards gate pose. Okay, root the tailbone and press your tailbone forward. So you're going to start feeling the hip flexors in here, I hope. Zip the pubic bone up towards the belly button. Press into your right hand and curve the rib cage on your left side. Oh, I'm holding on to a drape behind. How did that get down here? Hey. This is just since yesterday. Of course, it was up there somewhere yesterday. It's just that it's down now. Hi. So when you're curving here, I do want this block to be tall. So you're pressing down into the right arm. and broadening the left side of the waist. Again, keep the left thigh stable, left butt toned, open the hip flexors, and breathe into the left side of the torso here. Now press into your left knee and your right foot. Inhale, rise up, arms wide. And exhale, bend the right knee. We're not going to stay long, don't worry. Okay, inhale, glide back. Exhale. Inhale, rise up. You need the stability of the first chakra. Exhale, glide. You need the mobility of the second chakra. Be honest with yourself when you glide like this. Inhale, up to center. Exhale. So we would place the quality of discernment at the second and the third chakra. The second chakra, discernment is like discerning between the deepest desire and the fleeting superficial desires. The third chakra, discernment is like discerning between, we say, the real and the unreal, the true and the untrue. Let's rise up one more time. Inhale. And exhale, bend the right knee. And then rise up and see if you can step the right knee back next to the left knee. And then take, scooch like a typewriter bar, and then step to the other side. For those of you who haven't used a typewriter, you can look it up on Google later. Anybody doesn't know what I'm talking about. When I say scooch like a typewriter bar, I mean ting to the other side. Okay, so right thigh stable, left outer hip can drop down. Inhale the arms wide. And exhale, come down. So your left hand is going to find the block. So keep the right butt toned on the back side. Press the right hip forward here so your hip flexors are getting the message that you'd like them to open. And breathe into the right side of your waist here. Yeah. Now sweep your right arm past your right ear. The discernment at the third chakra, when we say between the real and the unreal, it's discerning between the true and the untrue. This is really the work of the mind so much. How the mind then interprets what it's received from the first and the second chakra, what it's receiving from the world around us. So when you inhale now, rise up, arms wide. Exhale, bend the left knee. Be honest with your hip alignment. Inhale, rise up to center. Exhale. Inhale, rise up. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. One more time, inhale, rise up. And exhale. And then inhale, rise back up and step the left knee in to meet the right knee. And come back down to Vajrasana. Take a seat right here. Vajrasana means the thunderbolt pose, the power pose. Close your eyes. Third chakra, we have to learn about this discernment with the mind. So for example, incoming stimulation, what is yours to ingest and digest? What is not yours to ingest? Discerning between your interpretation and the emotions or the felt sense in there. Reminding yourself that you're susceptible to misinterpretation. And that is picking up unresolved needs at the second chakra and unresolved fears at the first chakra. So misperception or misinterpretation is picking up from the second and the first chakra and then adding to how we're interpreting. And please take a seat on your hips with your feet in front of you, knees bent. So one of the meta truths of the third chakra is that we can only do our own work, our own individual work. And by that, I mean your individual intrapersonal psychological work. It has to be done within here. You need support, you need community, you need a mentor or a guide, you need resources from the outside to help you with that, but only we can digest our emotions. We can have witnesses and support people for that digesting, but only we can digest the emotions for ourselves. And we can't really digest somebody else's emotions for them. That will be their work to do. And so that being a meta truth, one of the important things about it is here at the third chakra, we're going to be transitioning up to the fourth. And we go from this personal and intrapersonal space up to an interpersonal opportunity. But if we haven't handled this well, it's really hard to arrive here healthy. So this pose, we're going to do a little bit of a sequence on the digestion at the third chakra. So place the feet so they're parallel, hip distance apart. If you're not sure that you're going to be stable there, put one block between the feet as feedback. So you know you're not going to be rolling the ankles one way or the other. Take your right hand behind you, please. Raise the left arm up. And then start with your left arm on the inside of your left knee. You can hold either the left shin or the right shin, like this. Press the left shoulder back and twist your low belly and your belly button and your solar plexus to the right. Roll the right shoulder back and raise up through the crown of your skull. And now inhale, raise your left arm up alongside your left ear. And lower your left arm to the outside of your right knee. Again, try to keep the knees parallel and the feet in touch with the block so you know where you are. Rotate the low belly, like the deepest part of the belly, and then the belly button and your solar plexus to the right. Notice how your mind and your belly are responding to the compression. You are compressing the belly right now, a little bit like squeezing a sponge. And then exhale and come around to face forward. Okay, reach the arms forward past your knees. If you've got a block between the feet, make sure you can pick it up and hold it with your ankles. Roll back to your just behind the sitting bones. Pick up the block. This is for bridge pose. I mean, boat pose, excuse me. I'm sitting on a lump on the blanket. So when you take the feet up into boat pose with the block between the feet, you're not going to be able to see your camera or your computer. That's okay. Breathe in. And then raise the arms, bend your knees, place your feet firmly, but softly on the floor so they don't crash. And let's take the Right elbow to the inside of the right knee. Twist the belly to your left. Turn your chest and heart to the left also, but focus on the rotation really deep in the belly, and then the belly button, and then the solar plexus. Sometimes what happens is you want to do your work at the third chakra, but you are distracted by the second chakra. You're having craving or aversion. You're having the senses wander hither and thither. You're going into the murky waters of preference, aversion, intolerance, craving, wanting pleasure, avoiding pain. So if you notice that you're getting distracted, please know that that's common. And that's why the chakras are a developmental process. To the best of your ability, come into awareness of the first, second, and third chakra, and the squeeze you're doing at the solar plexus. And then raise your right arm up, and then rotate a little more to your left. Hook your right elbow to the outside of your left knee. Rotate through the low belly, mid belly, upper belly. So second chakra, we're trying to discern between the fleeting, superficial desires and aversions and the deeper drive that we have, the deepest longing. We come to the third chakra and we have this inner work to do with our sense of self. Particularly important between interpretation, misinterpretation, discerning the real from the unreal, the true from the untrue. Come around to face forward, reach your arms forward. Roll back slightly behind your sitting bones. Pick up your block, boat pose. And then raise the arms, bend your knees, softly place the feet so you don't crash. And let's take a seat on a blanket. Come to your seat for Upavista Konasana. You can walk forward any amount. It's helpful to have something for your head to rest on. That could be 1 block, could be 5 blocks. It could be for some of you when you come forward that you place your elbows on the blocks and then support your head like this. When you come forward, any amount forward, bow your head towards your heart. One of the primary qualities at the third chakra will have to be humility. And because the word humility actually means to be humble or to be willing to reflect, but it's a word, humility, close to the word humiliation. For some of us to have that inner humility about our process, to become very honest with ourselves, for example, we are afraid that we'll feel humiliation rather than humility. That's also where discernment comes in. And we see the beauty in humility. And set ourselves on course to neither humiliate ourselves nor others. Which would be something that comes from a place of fear, not a place of wisdom, when we humiliate ourselves or others. Walk your hands back up to your thighs, press down, rise up, and take a simple seat. So a meta truth at the third chakra. Only you can do your personal work, your inner work. Each of us individually has to digest the emotions that are ours to digest. We cannot digest somebody else's emotions for them. We can hold space for them to have their experience. We can request that people hold space for us to have our experience. And each of us is a portal for the emotions that the human species is capable of. Now I'd like you to take your 2 blocks and put 1 block on the medium setting like that. It's going to be for your head. The other block you can place on the flat setting like this is going to be for the shoulder blades. When you lie back, please put your shoulder blades on that second block flat. So that your head goes on, on the first block, which was the second block that I placed, but it's the first block you touch. Put your shoulder blades flat on that block. You can take the legs out and the arms overhead. Turn your palms to face each other. Very nice. And as you're reaching long from your hips to your heels, stretch into the first, second, third chakra. You can sense there's a journey going up into the heart. And then squeeze the elbows down alongside your torso, lower than your shoulders. Inhale, reach the arms long overhead. Turn your palms to face each other. Exhale, squeeze the elbows down. You can keep them about the same height as the shoulders. Your elbows are not touching the floor right now. Inhale, glide and reach. And exhale to squeeze the upper back, the elbows coming down. You might feel your heart lift up a little bit. And again, inhale to reach. And then last time, exhale, squeeze down. And this time when you come down, see if you can release the squeeze with your arms going out to the side. And right here, allow the heart to relax in the center of the chest. Imagine from the sternum across to your collarbones and your shoulders, releasing unnecessary tension. And taking the arms one more time overhead. And release your hands down alongside your torso. Place your palms face down under your hips and press up to sitting. Reach back and take this block on the medium setting, this one on the tall setting. Lay back so your shoulder blades are on the edge of the blanket. The block, excuse me. And so what that means is that the bottom corners of the shoulder blades are there at the edge of the block. And then the ribs are below that. The other edge of the block you may or may not feel so well, but the beveled edge is at the bottom of the 2 shoulder blades. Take your arms overhead, please. Hook your thumbs. As you reach the arms overhead, remember how we were talking about the arrow of attention. This was a couple days back, or maybe last week or something. So make the hands like an arrow reaching overhead. Because your head is up on the higher block, you have to just be thoughtful that you're not externally rotating the arms. Turn the armpits and the triceps and the elbows towards your nose. Right there where the rib cage meets the solar plexus is the dividing line between the earthbound chakras and the heavenly chakras. And so that's a place you want to practice resolving tension, releasing the residue of stress. You can let that place of transition feel more porous to the breath. And see if it's possible for your breathing to go from the lower to the middle to the upper part of your torso here, particularly the inhale. Can it rise up to the heart and the collarbones? And then exhale when you're ready to. Take the arms out into a T shape. Bring the backs of your hands to the floor, perhaps also the backs of your wrists. Maybe the back of the forearms. Maybe your elbows. And practice releasing any unnecessary tension in the body. It's possible that your legs will roll a little bit externally. The toes might point out. You may relax your thumbs and your fingers. It's possible that your hands will feel like rotating your thumbs towards the sky or the ceiling. If you're unable to relax your throat in this position, you may need the block under your head plus a folded blanket under the head. Now, for anyone who'd like to stay in this position for the remainder of Shavasana, please do. For anyone for whom you feel your upper back needs to be flat, you can take a regular Shavasana at this point. Allow the mind to be quiet, moving the mental rubbish from the third chakra, the incinerator, downwards. Samanavayu goes to Apanavayu. As the mind quiets, invite your heart to be more known to you. And allow the mind to be quiet. The rubbish is flowing downstream. Cleansing response. And invite yourself to know the heart, your heart, our heart, more intimately. You may lightly deepen your breathing. Wiggle your fingers and toes. If you've been in a regular Shavasana, you can simply make a thoughtful transition. If you stayed on the 2 blocks for your Shavasana, when you make the transition, you may want to come upright to sit. So place your palms face down underneath your hips, and then press down to rise up to sit. And let's come to our seat for closing practice, please. So a metta truth in the heart, we can turn to the teachings of the Brahma Viharas, where we would learn that compassion is a more wise response than pity or cruelty. Compassion is a more wise response with someone who is suffering, rather than responding to them with pity or cruelty. That is one of the meta truths of the 4th chakra, the heart chakra. Place the mudra like this for the 4th chakra. So right hand, left hand. The sound is the word yam, Y-A-M. The M and the vibration is important. Yum, 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 yum. 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 One more. Yum, 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 yum. Bring the right hand down. And please place your palms like a small meditation bowl, one hand in the lap of the other. The base chakra will feel more stable when we sense our responsibility to care for the concentric circles, first nearest most, then farthermost. We go to the farthermost and we neglect the nearest most concentric circle of care, it will not be stable. second chakra, one of the meta truths here, to follow the deepest desire, overcome the superficial or fleeting desires. Also true that if we get tangled in the superficial desires, we will delay, detour, distort, or disrupt our journey. Third chakra, one of the meta truths here, only we can feel our emotions to digest them. These are shared emotions common to all humans. Only we can digest our own. We cannot digest somebody else's emotions for them. Sometimes we cry the tears of our ancestors because we have inherited them. This is an understanding of the intergenerational that we are, but we cannot digest the other person's emotions. Sometimes we feel the urge to do so, but we cannot do it. They have their own duty. And at the fourth chakra, one of the meta truths, compassion, a more wise response than pity or cruelty. Bring your hands to Anjali Mudra, please. Thank you very much, everyone. Namaste.